Hi everyone, welcome back. So today we are going to start with a new course which is basically natural language processing with the Hugging Face, which is basically a module. So we'll be understanding about NLP, that is natural language processing. So before starting with the course, we'll have an introduction to the Python, like what is basically Python, what are the different essential things we are going to cover before jumping onto the NLP. So NLP is basically a natural language processing which is part of our machine learning. So before starting with the main part, let's get all the essentials or the prerequisite of things that we need to know before starting with the course, before starting with the main part. So Python is a base language which will support for NLP along with the machine learning. So we'll be understanding some of the basics of machine learning and some of the basics of Python. So for someone who is having intermediate level, who is on the who is have all these understanding about the basic terms, we are still going to cover for those who don't know. So Python is basically a language which can be used for a lot of scenarios. Like you can use Python for the data engineering where you can extract data from websites, analyze the web content, gather information. You can use Python for the web development. You can use Python for the game development. You can use Python for the machine learning and artificial intelligence. You can use Python for the data science. So there are multiple lots and lots of examples, lots of applications or use cases of Python that can be used. It's a very vast language which can be used to so many different scenarios. So starting with the building blocks or starting with the basics, if I say, Python consists of different important things that we are going to cover. So the first part is the variables and the data type. So variables or data types are basically the fields or the values or the variables where you declare something. So variables are like containers which holds your data. For example, name. Name is equals to Yashi. So name is a variable which is storing a value as Yashi. Now Yashi is a string, so the data type would be string. Similarly, if I say age, age is equals to 25. That's just an example. So yeah, if that's a number, so age is a variable and it's storing a value which is 25. Now, the data type for the age would be integer because the number, it's an integer value. Similarly, if they ask me, let's say something, what's the price of a product? So the price is 20.53 rupees. So that's 20.53 is basically a decimal value. So variables are a container which holds something, and data types are basically, we would say, the different, every variable has a data type. Either you store a string value, either you store a number integer value, either you store a float or a boolean value which is true or false. So if respective to NLP, we often store sentences, we often store strings, word counts, integers, and so many things. We are going to understand about it in the further videos. Next, we have a string. Strings are basically working with the text. So from the word itself, if you understand, that is natural language processing. We will be processing our language the way we used to talk. For example, if I gave you an overview, how is computer going to understand what I'm saying? In an audio recognition application, let's say in the Google, there's an audio recognition part. If I just click on that voice recognition and if I just say, hey, what is Python? How is my computer is understanding what I'm saying? I'm saying in a simple English language. Computer don't understand English language. They only understand machine language. So for that, we will be using this NLP to make computers understand our language. So definitely we'll be requiring strings. Strings are the data which are in the form of text, and they are very important with respective to NLP. We have multiple different options to play with the string. Like you can lower your string upper, you can convert it into uppercase, you can split your data, you can replace your data, you can perform lots of text cleaning by using all these string variables. Then what we have are the list. So lists are basically the collection of words. For example, there are multiple words. Let's say a name. So there can be Yashi, Ashi, Isha, Shruti, Sonakshi. There can be multiple words. What from those words, I want to store all those words in a single variable which is name. So to store multiple collections of words in a single variable, we use list, which contains the collection of the words. We will be coding, we'll be understanding all these different values with the coding as well. Let's cover it with the theory part first. After that, we have dictionaries. Dictionaries are is something which is used in Python, which is I would say a characteristics of Python and advantage of Python. Now, dictionaries are used to make a meaning, like your word will be having a meaning or a frequency. For example, if I specify word count, so in that word count, we will be having multiple different variables which will be storing a value. So inside a single variable, you will be storing multiple variables, which is like key and a value to it. We'll be understanding how it looks like. But this basically means you have a dictionary where it contains keys and it contains values to it. After that, we have loops. Loops are basically repeated tasks that we perform. For example, let's say I want to print Yashi 5 times. So instead of writing Yashi, 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 what if someone asks me to print Yashi 100 times? I cannot write Yashi, Yashi 100 times. That is practically impossible. So for that, we have loops in Python, which is basically a repeated task. So if we understand it with respect to NLP, so they are used to process thousands of lines of text in a data sets. If you want to read a data, if you want to read something, convert something, you cannot do that one by one. You can do that in a loop which is all together at a once. After that, in loops, we have conditional statement, which is like if and else statement. For example, if name equals to Yashi, print Yashi, else print Varma, something like that. Then we have functions. Functions are the reusable code blocks. What I mean by reusable code blocks is whenever you write a function, you only call it and then you are able to run it. What I mean by here is, let me just give you a very simple example. Let's say I have written a function which is print name. Now in that function, whenever I want to print a name, I will be calling that function. Instead of writing the same thing again and again, what I did is I just write that specific text in a function and then call it again. Let's actually move on to the coding part. So we will be using VS Code here, which is basically a interpreter which is used to run all our Python, Jupyter, Node.js, yes, React.js, like whatever languages you wanted to run, we can use that. Let me just give you a simple walkthrough to it. So in VS Code, you can also install the extensions. So I have installed the Python extensions just to make sure my Python programs are able to run. I've installed Python and I have installed Pylons, which is a feature that allow me, which is basically, I would say, it's a server which is used to run Python in my VS Code. It also gives me some of the suggestions that are required. Along with it, I've also installed Jupyter Notebook to run some of the Jupyter files. Like Jupyter Notebook is basically a file, or I would say it's basically a format where cells are present and you can individually run your cells. So starting with the first part, which is variables and data type. So let's say in Python, if I write name is equals to NLP. So that is a variable which is having a data type as string. So here the variable is having a data type which is string. Similarly, if I created another variable, let's call the variable to be words. So words is the variable which is storing a value. So value is, let's say, 2500. Now this is a data type integer because 25 is of integer data type. So this is what variables and data types we can say, where you have a variable, a field which is storing some value. So we call it a variable. Name is a variable, words is a variable which are of string and integer data type. Similarly, we have multiple other variables we can create. For example, accuracy. Let's take it 92.5. So now the data type of this specific variable will be float because it's having decimal in it. Similarly, there is another type of data type which is basically Boolean, where the values are either true or either false. So if the value is either true or either false, then those type of variables are basically of Boolean data type. Now, in Jupyter Notebook, we used to individually run the cells. So I'm going to press Shift and Enter, and I will be able to execute this specific part. Now, what it is telling me that you cannot divide a true with a false. True basically means 1 and false basically means 0. So you cannot divide anything with 0. So because of that, it doesn't work. So now my name, words, accuracy, and is easy are the variables which are storing their respective values. Along with it, we are also able to understand the data type for it. In NLP, we'll be using multiple strings, multiple word counts as in teachers, and model accuracy to understand. As we are working with machine learning, so definitely accuracy plays a role there. So we'll be using those values, which will be a flow data type. Now, jumping on to the next part, which is basically strings. So strings is like working with your text. So strings are the text data, which will be, we can perform so many functionalities in strings. So let's start with something. Let's create a variable sentence and let's store a string value, but let's store a sentence inside it. Now, one more thing. I think this you might be knowing that strings are always specified in double quotes or either single quotes. Without that, they consider that specific value as a non-string value. So let's write something. Let's say I wanted to write I love natural language processing. Sorry. Yes. So that's a variable I created, which is sentence and which is storing some value, which is I love natural language processing. Now, what I want is I want to convert this whole sentence into lowercase. I want to convert this whole sentence into uppercase. I want to split every individual words which are present in the sentence. Along with it, let's say I also want to replace something. So we can perform all these processing of text because in NLP we'll be definitely processing a lot of text. Because if you understand how my computer is going to understand, right? I need to process my text. I need to process my text in a way which is understandable to computers. So because of that, definitely playing with strings is the major part here. So we'll start with the basic thing. Let's say I wanted to print sentence dot lower. So these are the different inbuilt functions which are present in Python to print something. So lower is a function which will convert your sentence, your whole word into lowercase. Similarly, if I wanted to print something in uppercase, I'm going to write print sentence dot upper. So what's going to do is convert your whole sentence of words into uppercase. Then let's say I want to separate all the words which are present. So to separate the words, we have a function which is the split function, which allow you to separate different words, like individual words in a whole sentence. You can also provide the index how you wanted to split and all these different variables. But if we only use split, then it is just going to separate the data. After that, we have, let's say I want to replace something. So I'm going to use sentence dot replace, which is a function which is going to replace my data. We specify the first variable that we wanted to replace. Let's say I wanted to replace natural, and with which word you wanted to replace. So first is the natural, which let's say I wanted to replace with computer. So here natural will be replaced to computer. Now I'm going to press shift plus enter and let's run this cell. So if you look at the data, my whole I love natural language processing has been converted into lowercase because I used dot lower function. Similarly, all the whole sentence has been converted into uppercase by using dot upper. By using the split function, I am able to split the individual words like I separated, love separated, natural separated, compute, language separated, and processing separated. So every word in the sentence has been separated by a comma, which is by default. We use that. You can also specify the delimiter with which you wanted to split your data. After that, we use the replace keyword to replace natural with computer. So if you see in the last sentence, I am able to replace, previously it was natural, now it is computer. So we are also able to replace our data. So this is all part of text cleaning, where converting your data into lower casing, removing the words, replacing the data, and all these different functionalities. Now, let's start with the next part, which is basically list. Now, what are list? List is collection of words, right? So let me just give you an example. Let's say in name, I wanted to store multiple things. So one thing is list always return in square brackets and we always write the string data in double quotes. So that's why I'm specifying, let's say Yashi, then I'm specifying Isha, then I'm specifying Shruti, just random names coming in my mind. Let's say Naman. Yeah. So these are the string. This whole variable name, or we already, this variable name is basically of list data type with as a string as a values. So we can say the data type of this name list is basically string because it contains all the values which are string in nature. Now let's say now if I wanted to print something, let's create one more list. Okay, let's create the list as words. And now if I wanted to enter something like, let's say 25, 26, 78, 90, 124. So now this list is of data type basically integer because all the values that the word string list contains are all of integer data type. So now let's say I wanted to extract Yashi from name. Like in the previous example, let's say here if I wanted to print Yashi, what I can do is I can simply write print name. So now if I run this, this will print me name which is NLP. But here if I write in the same way, which is print name, it is going to print me everything, but I don't want everything. I only want the Yashi. So for that, we have a function like to extract something in from your list. We provide the index. So it always start from zero, like zeroth index, one index, two index, and three index. So for the name, we use zeroth index and yes, bracket closed. Now if I run this, I get the data which is Yashi because it is presented zeroth index in our whole name list. Similarly, if I say I wanted to, what should I say? I wanted to extract let's say last variable. So if you imagine like you have thousands of variables present in your list and you don't know the last index. So in that scenario, we use name with hyphen one, close the bracket and run it. So this will return you the last variable. So you see the last variable which was present was Naman. So it just returned you last variable, which is by using the minus one as an index, we are able to extract the last variable. Similarly, if I use minus 2, I would be able to extract the last second variable, which is Shruti. So this is how the indexing at the list work. You always start with 0 and for the end you start with minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 and so on. Now let's say you want to add something in your string. So to append something in your string, we have a function which is append function. So let's say in my words list, I wanted to append. So I'm going to use words dot append and I wanted to append a variable, let's say 75. Okay, first it's a numeric, so I don't have to use double quotes. Now I wanted to print words. So let's run this. See, after at the last variable, I am able to append my data. So similarly, you can perform a lot of things. You can remove a data, you can append a data, you can perform a lot of variations with the list, the way you used to do with strings. Then string we used to like lowercase, uppercase, replace, split, and so on. With the list, we are able to add something, remove something, replace something, and all these functionalities or extract individual values. All these different functionalities you can perform. Now, this was all about the list. Now, if you understand about the dictionaries, so where you have a meaningful thing, okay, let me tell you how it looks like. So, for example, let's say I created a dictionary which is address. Now, in address, we have multiple things, right? We have a street, like flat number, or let's say house number, building name, city, state, zip. Like you have multiple fields which is present inside a address. So for that, you need multiple fields inside a single variable, which is address. So that's how it works. We just specify here, let's say house number. Now, as it's a string, so I need to use double quotes. So perfect. and house number is, let's say I enter house number is equals to 67. Similarly, I created another variable, let's say, what should we call it? Building name. And let's give, okay, so first thing in dictionary, we do not use equals to, we use colon. Perfect. So let's give it Godrej, and as is a string value, we need to write in double quotes. There's something wrong with my compiler. Okay, enter. Similarly, let's say now one more thing. We always use comma to separate the values. Perfect. Now let's say you have one more variable which is city. You specify the city as Pune. Perfect. Now in the last variable, you're not required to specify the comma. So this is how we are able to create a dictionary where inside my dictionary I have three different variables, which is house number, building name and city, where one variable is of data type 67, another variable is of string, another is also string. So this whole dictionary we can't say this whole dictionary is of either string or data type, like key. This house number is a key, 67 is a value to it. This building name is a key, Godrej is a value to it. The city is a key and Pune is the value to it. So this is how we are able to write the dictionaries. Now, let's say you want to extract something from a dictionary. So if I wanted to extract only the city from the dictionary, then we are going to use print. We use the dictionary name, which is address, and then we specify the key name, which is city. Perfect. So in this way, we are able to extract the data from dictionary. Let me run this. See, I am able to extract Pune, which is present as a key value to my dictionary. Now these are called to be as key pairs. Like they are key. Why key pairs? Because it contains key and a value. So they are as a whole. It's called key pair. So now this dictionary address contains three key pairs. Okay, if I wanted to extract value to only one key, I specified city and I'm able to extract everything. What if I remove this city and I only write address? You see, it will print me everything for my dictionary. Now, dictionaries are always written in this brackets, which is curve brackets, and lists are always written in square brackets. So that's a difference between them. You cannot specify a list with curve brackets. You cannot specify a dictionary with square brackets. You need to use the same, I would say same way, same formatting. Yes. So now after dictionaries, we also understood about the loops. So loops is basically repeating your task multiple times. So let's say if I want to convert multiple variables, or let's say I have a list, in list I have multiple words and I want to convert each word into lowercase. So let's say I create a sentence is equal to, it's a dictionary. So I create variables like I love Python, then I've written NLP is fun. Then let's write I enjoy coding. Perfect. Let me close the list and we are done. Now let's say I want to convert everything into lowercase. If I write sentence dot lower and if I use print what sentence dot lower, and if I run this, you see I'm getting an error, which is a list object does not has an attribute which is lower in case. So I cannot convert my whole list into lowercase. But what I can do is I can write a loop which is for s in sentence. For s in sentence basically means for every single word. S is a single word that is present in your whole list, like individual words which are present in your list. For example, in my list, the individual words or individual separators are I love Python is one. This I love Python is a one thing. NLP is fun is an another variable, and I enjoy coding is an another variable, another value I would say. So this S is individual value. So first time S will contain I love Python, second time S will contain NLP is fun, and third time S will contain I enjoy coding. So what we can do is we can write print s dot lower, and let us write this and let me run this. You see, now I'm able to convert my data into lowercase. See, I love Python and lower. NLP is fun and I enjoy coding. So every word, every value which is present in my list has been converted into lowercase. So this is how loops are. We call it loop. We call it for loop. So we have multiple types of loop. Like we have for loop, we have while loop, we have do while loop. So these are the different types of loops that are present in Python that we are be working on and we used to work on while coding. So after this, we also have some of the statements in Python, which is like if and else statements. If and else statement, for example, let me give an example of something related to NLP. So NLP is also used to understand the reviews. For example, Amazon uses NLP. If you go to the Amazon, if you go to the review section for each product or any product, you will see there will be summarization written for all the reviews which are present, like a summary of every review. So that is done by NLP. NLP summarized everything like positive, negative, whatever it is, and just return you something. So similarly, if I write review is equal to this movie is amazing. Now, let's say if I write, if there is a word you find in, like we train NLP like this, like if you find amazing, like if amazing in review, if there is a word amazing present in review, then you are supposed to make it or you are supposed to give the output as positive. It's a positive feedback. Like every individual cannot look at the data, right? Like there are lakhs of reviews we used to get over a product or over a movie or whatever it is. Individual person cannot go through everything and understand is it positive or is it negative. So we use this machine learning models to understand the positivity and the number of positive reviews we got, the number of negative reviews we got by understanding the single words. Like we use ML model, and ML model basically use single words and understand the impression, like is it positive or is it negative. Now if the amazing word is not present, make it look like negative. Now if I run this, this is positive, the movie is amazing. Now if I change it to movie is okay, and if I run this, see, I'm getting the output as negative. So it's showing that the review that you got is basically a negative review. So that's how conditional statements work in Python.